Cedric Mullins reveals if the Orioles have talked to him about an extension. And Tyler O'Neill is a scratch from the Birds game. Another injury the Orioles simply don't need. Hello, everybody. I'm Jon Leiberman. This is Orioles Digest. Major updates today. We're going to talk about the Tyler O'Neill injury. We're going to talk about if Ced has been talked to about an extension. Of course, Mullins been one of the Orioles' best hitters this year so far. Then we're going to really break down who should be extended, who shouldn't be, and what the team is saying. There's a lot of talk around extensions as well. And then we're going to talk about the inevitable, in my mind, call-up of Brandon Young for the weekend. But again, like, subscribe, do all the things because we're here all season. And look, here's the reality about the Birds season so far. Every time there's good news, there's also bad news. The good news is the Birds won in a rout last night. Dean Kramer looks solid. Jackson Holliday hit a granny. Good, great, but Tyler O'Neill was scratched. He was a late scratch with a sore neck. Now, and the headline says it's the last thing the Orioles need. True. Now, you would say, all right, a sore neck, who cares? The problem is Tyler O'Neill's history of injuries. And that's what I want to look at. And that's really, that's really what's most concerning. He's been on the IL 14 times in his career. He's averaged 2 trips per year. And this year, he is so valuable to the Birds. Look at that slash line, 265, 339, 490. This is a guy super productive for the Orioles. And he also has a 140 WRC plus, which is actually second best among the Birds, just behind Cedric Mullins. We're going to get to Ced in just a second. But look, these types of numbers are why the Orioles felt comfortable giving him a 3-year, $50 million deal. As you all know, a 3-year, $50 million deal is not something that Mike Elias just hands out willy-nilly. Gave it to him to perform the way that he is performing, and that's why this latest injury scare is indeed scary. Now, let's just hope it's minor, and he's back in the lineup very, very soon, but we have to keep an eye on Tyler O'Neill. Again, that 140 WRC plus number, second best among Orioles, behind just this man, Cedric Mullins. Cedric is hitting the cover off the ball this year, and I wanted to take a tiny bit of a deeper dive into Ced's, numbers over his career as an Oriole. Obviously, he's been an Oriole his entire career, and in a moment, I'm going to give you what he said just in the last 12, 18 hours about an extension with the Birds. But as you can see, in this very young season, Ced is hitting 308, and he's almost at a 1, wins above replacement, which is, for early in the season, very, very solid. And you look back to some of his best seasons. You look back at 2021 with the 5.7 wins above replacement. Even 2022, the 3.8. Ced has been a steady presence in this clubhouse from rebuild to playoffs. Here's what I think the reality is. First, let's look at what Ced said, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. So Ced was actually asked, and this was a great piece in the Baltimore Banner by Andy Kostka, and he asked Ced if he wanted to stay with the Orioles, and this is what Ced said. He said 100%. Being drafted by Baltimore, knowing what Baltimore and the city offered me and my family has been nothing short of amazing. So to have those negotiations take place, it's all in timing. Ced's agent, however, made it clear that nobody has talked to Ced yet about an extension. And here's the reality, and disagree with me in the comments, but you have Enrique Bradfield down on the farm. You have other outfielders on the farm. Obviously, Bradfield's hurt right now. But as much as I would love to see Ced extended, I don't think it's going to happen. Here's why. Number one, I don't think the Orioles want to get into this backlog of making all of these young studs wait in line for a spot in the bigs, right? And you don't need to look any further than, say, Kobe Mayo for an example of that. And two, I think the price tag that said is going to command, should these numbers keep up or even close, probably looking at $20 million a season, I would think. And I just don't see Mike Elias and company doing that. Speaking of extensions, though, Mike actually talked a lot about extensions this week. His most extensive comments yet. There are guys on this team we'd like to have on this team longer than they're currently slated for. It's not a point and shoot thing. It's case by case. Different players, different skill levels, different reps, different philosophies around how to handle players at different age levels. We've got some really good ones. And on top of that, we've had a recent ownership change after a kind of protracted thing during a rebuild. These guys are great, but they're relatively new. I read this in a couple ways, and I want to get your thoughts, obviously, in the comments. But in my mind, these are the guys that are pretty much the top guys when you're talking about extensions. Adley, Gunnar, Jordan Westburg, Jackson Holliday, Colton Cowser. So give me your thoughts in the comments. Which of these guys should be extended? Should it be done this season? Should the Orioles wait until later in the season and look at performances? But again, it's Adley, Gunnar, Jordan, Jackson, and Colton, I would imagine, are the ones. And the reality of this game is the Orioles are not going to be able to extend all 5 of these players in addition to said. You're probably looking at 1 or 2, to be honest. I could see a scenario whereby the Orioles extend 1 or 2, not more than that. I was looking back, and the Orioles are really, I believe, the only major league team that has not signed a player to an extension of 4+ guaranteed years since 2019. And during Mike Elias' tenure, only one player has been signed to the multi-year deal, and that's Tyler O'Neill, who you just saw. Give me your thoughts in the comments. Love to hear it. Love to engage with you. What's next? Sagana goes today. Could be the Birds' first series win of the year. First time they've won 2 games in a row. Then you have Cade Povich going to the mound Friday night, and then Saturday. I truly believe, and my fingers are crossed, I think you're going to see Brandon Young get called up and get the start on Saturday. You all know how high I am on this guy, and I would just love to see him up in the bigs. Let's see what he can do, especially while Zach Eflin is still recovering. Hopefully Zach will be back in the next, couple of weeks, but let's see what Brandon Young can do for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll see him. I'll be at the yard for it, bring you all the updates. Oh, and by the way, Kobe Mayo, who's been waiting his turn, hit another home run last night down. He's killing it at the minors. Time for him to come up as well. I'm Jon Leiberman. This is Orioles Digest.